Hello, Meoni here, and welcome back to another video. This then the summary of the keynote from Fanfest London 2023. I'm just back from Fanfest London myself. It was a phenomenal 2 days, a roller coaster of enjoyment, and a lot of great opportunities to network and meet lots of fans. So it was absolutely fantastic. So let's get straight onto that keynote then, and let's summarize this. I know this is kind of late, but I wasn't able to do this in the hotel room. First of all then, obviously, we're going to be looking at the new extended trailer.
4, 3, 2, 1.
There'll be a link to this in the description of the video. Essentially, it is revealing the new job in further detail. That's the extra additions. There are some extra pieces with Estinian spearing a monster, as well as lots of other bits as well with Ishtola and a Nutkin and things like that. But the main attraction is the release of information about the brand new job. Yoshi P comes on stage. That was the first thing. The crowd went absolutely ballistic when I was there, and he's wielding two weapons, two swords, and wearing a beautiful leather getup, which is reminiscent of the artifact gear that you will get in the game for the brand new job known as Viper. Viper then is essentially the answer to people who asked for dual wield that's different from ninja. So you can expect large combos, you build up those combos with the two swords, and then you unleash powerful damage with those swords combining into a large glaive that you spin around. Blue magic spews off there in this footage. Absolutely beautiful. I'm really looking forward to this. Apparently this outfit that's in this footage here is the artifact gear, and this starts obviously at level 80. It requires at least for you to have a level 80 character somewhere on your account for you to have this unlocked. The reason for this, of course, is so that if you wanted to, you could get to 80, unlock this, and then go straight into Dawn Trail expansion and play the entirety of it as the new job. The starting location for this job in 7.0 will be Uldar, which is quite useful. I think a lot of people like the Uldar start to jobs. It makes things a little bit more efficient, and it shares the same exact gear as Ninja. So if you're wondering if ninjas are going to have the host of all of the loot once again, no, they will actually have to start sharing that. So that's just a thing. To move on, they showed us beautiful pack art then with the Viper as the cover. This is absolutely fantastic. They've done a phenomenal job, and I cannot wait to try that out personally. Hopefully there's something like a media tour, although I have no information on that at this point. Next then, they talk about the job in a little bit extra detail, but essentially the concept behind the job is, as we've said, something to bridge that gap between somebody who wants to, dual wield and, not be a ninja. They say this close-range fighting style passed down by Tural hunters uses two one-handed blades that can be combined into a single two-handed weapon. As such, the Viper alternates between pressuring enemies with swift strikes by their twin blades and dealing mighty blows with their joined weapon. By calling on the memories of ancient hunters contained within their soul crystal, the Viper can imbue their body with additional power for a brief time. So again, we're building up that combo, and then we're using those like that dual weapon stance joined together to basically unleash magic through the blade. It looks really, really cool. Of course, they teased the fact that the new caster is scheduled to be shown off at Tokyo Fanfest later in, next year technically, but it's not that long ago to wait really. So very excited for that. They don't really talk about that at all. Now they briefly showed the stuff we've already seen before. So it says, as hope's light dawns once more, a hero looks to new horizons. Winds of opportunity bring a visitor from the far west, seeking the warrior of light's aid in a right of succession to determine Tural's next ruler. They also say here that obviously Alphino, Alice, Erenville, warrior of light will, all go on this journey together across the Indigo Deep. Should rumor be true, the contest may lead them to the fabled gates of a city of gold. Little do they know that it will also see the Scions divided. So as it turns out, it seems we're playing a role in a succession of a kingdom. So the guy from the trailer is actually Galul Jaja, and that's the king of that area. So I don't know, we're fighting them in the trailer. Presumably we're taking that side, and they're trying to figure out what to do next, who has the throne right. Okay, so they've got this beautiful picture here with lots of artwork we've seen very briefly before, but now we've got some new stuff looking at Tural itself. So first of all, they mention again where it is on the map, this beautiful map. I want a high resolution image of that somewhere. If somebody can find that and send it me, I would love that. And then it says, we expand our horizons from the well-traveled 3 great continents to beyond the Indigo Deep, where adventures await beneath western skies. And then, of course, we have more stuff. They show a trailer for this, which is looking pretty amazing. I am loving a lot of this scenery. There's a lot more of a tropical kind of sort of desert island feel going to it, as well as, obviously jungle features. It looks really, really cool. I'm excited personally for that. Now they talk a little bit about the diverse nature of Tulial. It says the seat of a federal nation-state governing Tulial. It is located in northern reaches of Yok Tural. Lots of hard words to pronounce. So, of course, the nation's ruler is that Galul Jar Jar that you fight in the trailer, as you've seen, which is a 2-headed Mamulja. And also, Tulial is a pluralistic city with an established sea route to Old Charlian. So there's lots of different cultures in that area. Next, they look at new areas then. So as you can see in this pack shot here, you've got the sort of diverse range between those areas. So we've got everything from tropical jungles to, tropical beaches. And then on the flip side, we have high altitude, almost Mayan architecture in sort of like, I don't know, beautiful sort of Peruvian mountain ranges and things like that. It really is quite diverse. So I'm looking forward to that. Next, they show a brand new area and give it a title because we haven't got any information on this. A new zone then. So this is Kozama Uka. This then is actually from the trailer. You see it when Estinian and the other, Mamulja are walking around hunting with those waterfalls in the background. That is Kozama Uka. It says this tropical region can be found south of Tulialal. Myriad rivers and streams flow down from the crags to the west, creating breathtaking waterfalls. Kozama Uka is home to several peoples, including one reminiscent of the goblins, each maintaining their own unique culture. Those new goblins are called moblins. We'll get to those in a second, but they are the new beast tribe or tribal alliance quests. So as you can see here, here's some lovely shots of this in the game. Looking absolutely beautiful. You've got all of these large sort of spiky rocks, mountain ranges, sort of feels like they're reaching out over the forest or something like that. It's actually quite bizarre. I love that. And then a nice zoomed out area. So they did describe this during the keynote as a 2-tiered area. So it's likely 2 areas. So similar to the fringes or the peaks or anything like that from the past. Or of course, obviously Fafnir more recently, where you have upper and lower. And basically it's like 2 zones in one. I would imagine that's exactly the same here. We also have a nighttime shot, which looks awesome, seeing all that light. Yoshi P mentions how there are things lurking in the shadows, but I'm sure we can handle those. And then we've got a new zone here. This then is inspired by the sort of frontier gold rush of the Wild West. And you can really tell that. We've got cactuses, we've got sort of arid plains, canyons. We've also got something apparently that's floating in the air, or something in the air that is top secret. So they had to make this sort of icon over it and put secret, but apparently it's so integral to the actual storyline, it's quite spoilerific, so they didn't include it. So who knows what that is. I have a feeling it's going to be a dungeon, because one of the dungeons later that they showed almost looks like it would be some kind of floating fortress, or at least that's my opinion. So my guess is that there's something like a mana fortress up there, or some kind of dungeon. That would be epic. But this zone is amazing. It says this is called Shaloni. It says this arid region is located in central Tural. Vegetation is sparse on the rain-starved plains. There are expansive vistas, making for a striking contrast with the verdant surrounds of the region's largest lake. The discovery of ceruleum deposits in recent years has brought sweeping change to the area, including the construction of a railroad, even as local peoples maintain their cultural tradition. So it is very much like a gold rush. And if we show this picture in the game, this is probably my favorite picture from the keynote. It really gives you that sense of how impressive the new graphical update is. Look at all of that foliage, the difference between that. It definitely feels more three-dimensional. There's more depth to the image, and you can see, you know, details much further into the distance. This could be my new Azim step, probably. I like open places, and this is really, really nice. Here's another shot then. This is that railroad, like a little town. Again, very Wild West. We've got the moon in the distance there, looking beautiful, shining light down. And of course, and then we've got this as well. This particular screenshot of a completely different section, like the verdant surrounds, as they mentioned. So it's not all arid desert, but there is a large amount of it, but there are woodland areas. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Red Dead Redemption, you know what I mean? So let's talk about that new allied tribe then. We only get mention of one of them, even though that's pluralized, and that is the Moblins. The Moblins then, very reminiscent of goblins, are a people residing in the jungles of Kozama Uka, strongly resembling the goblins, with whom they share common ancestry, known for their ability to procure any useful material, no matter how rare. So it is mentioned that this is gathering and crafting related, so that you can expect those sorts of quests and you know, tribal alliance reputation with those, with obvious rewards and things. So who knows what the reward from that would be? Probably some kind of Moblin mount. I have no idea. We'll have to wait and see. They go for a little bit of recap of the features of Dawn Trail, including the level cap increase to level 100 from 90, which is excellent. They mention how much further are they going to go. I think it was mentioned like 255 as a jokingly number. And obviously, Koji Fox was like, how big is the EX pod going to actually get? You know, all of that experience, they're probably going to have to do a squish at some point, I would imagine, personally, but who knows? So then, obviously, they carry on talking about other features, such as core battle content. This obviously covers things that we're familiar with. Fates, of course, the new hunt marks, treasure hunts, the quest sync side quests, all of that will obviously still be in here as standard. And then, of course, we have, you know, the dungeons as well, brand new dungeons. So in this section, they show off little pictures of those. This is a screenshot of a dungeon. It looks like a water raft ride. It is described that you get on this raft as part of this dungeon. So maybe this is something like a riverboat cruise that goes wrong, or getting to a destination. Maybe it's faster to go down the river than it is to actually go through the jungle. I would completely believe that. There are certainly parts of the real world where that is entirely true, and that's why boats are used so much. Then we have this interior shot of the same dungeon. It said that once you're down that river, you find this location. Yoshi P mentions how this looks like artwork, and honestly, it really is, but that's in-game footage. That is fantastic, isn't it? Then, of course, we've got a completely different dungeon. This is on the side of a mountain. It looks almost like Ceruleum has like affected plant life or something, kind of like coral. There's no explanation given. And then there's another pack shot of that further up the dungeon, so it goes vertically. So some verticality to some of these dungeons by the look of it, and a good variety of them. This then is not actually concept art. This is a level planning image. So yes, it is drawn and painted, but this is exactly a section of the dungeon. So apparently they've taken off all of the annotations they would usually put on these images so that it could just show you this. So that will be part of that dungeon. Of course, they're not ready to show the game in-engine footage of that. And then there's this one, which is very cryptic, and they didn't really mention anything about this. Apparently, these things are these images, by the way, that they're used for like actually, you know, showing where things are in the dungeon perfectly and not concept, are called paint overs. So what happens is they obviously paint this over maybe textures in the game, and then they plan out where things are. But yeah, there's some really interesting stuff going on in there. They joke about, is this really an island vacation? Who knows? Then we go on to new threats then. And the brand new threat this time around is this fella, known only as the Eliminator. So less of a summer vacation and more of some kind of I don't know, cosmic threat. This reminds me for some reason of a Fal'Cie or something, like Final Fantasy 13 for me personally, like half robotic, half organic kind of thing, like a godly being. Can't wait to see that in the game. We've got the duty support update. Obviously, they'll be covering all of the new stuff with duty support, with trust, etc. There's actually a Q&A that I was part of, a press conference that I'll do a separate video on where we talk about that as well. We've got new gear and recipes, obviously new crafted stuff. So that's gear that's going to be useful to crafters and gatherers. And this then is an example of some of that Disciple of Hananland stuff, and honestly it looks fantastic. I'm really liking the different styles. Obviously on the left there we have something that looks almost like it could be a frontier sort of Wild West sort of outfit. You know, that's the sort of thing you might see in Shalon or something like that. I don't know if that's inspired that direction, but there's some beautiful outfits there. Then they show us the new job gear, or at least 4 examples of this. They explained here that instead of going something that's Dawn Trail themed, they wanted to go back to their roots and have something more iconic to those particular jobs. Of course, we have ourselves, our dancer in the middle there. We have a white mage on the left, very iconic, very obvious. We've got monk on the right there, and of course we've got dark knight in that outfit that kind of reminds me a little bit of Golbez. I really like those, actually. I don't know if I would have preferred a Dawn Trail specific themed piece of artifact armor, but these are pretty good. I can't wait to see what they look like in the game, because of course looking at static images is not as helpful as, you know, what it might look like. They mentioned that there is new lifestyle content because, as you know, the 6.x Island Sanctuary stuff is pretty much done now. If they update Island Sanctuary in the future in Dawn Trail and beyond, it will be minor updates, probably new rewards, but no new quests or ranks or anything like that. Instead, they're going with new lifestyle content. Apparently, it's close to being finished, but not quite. So they're going to wait until Tokyo to show that off. Very excited. Additionally, with that, we've got new variant mode dungeons planned for Dawn Trail, new 8-player raids, obviously, and a new ultimate raid. They didn't mention multiple, but they said at least one, right? Then we have the first announcement of what the Alliance raid series will be. Now, we've had some amazing stuff in the past, but I think most people were not expecting Echoes of Vana'diel, the Final Fantasy XI crossover that everybody has wanted for a long time. I love the Final Fantasy XI stuff that's in Eureka and things like that, but it was never enough really to sate the thirst. Final Fantasy XI is certainly a game that, you know, I'd like to play again, but it's not a very modernized game, so I find it difficult to, you know, repetitively play. But this is going to be some kind of crossover. They don't mention what bosses we might see or characters, but we've had characters from 11 in Final Fantasy XI crossovers with 14 before, but having an entire Alliance raid means they could open up the pot for any bosses. So if you play 11, you're going to be super hyped for that. And yeah, I'm very excited. So now they talk about ongoing content updates then. So things that are already in the game that are getting updated. There'll be a new Blue Mage update confirmed for Dawn Trail. Of course, new ranks, levels, Mass Carnival, that sort of stuff. They say they've put more Hildebrand adventures into the game. I'm glad that Hildebrand is sticking around. It was very good last time. Continues to be good, and hopefully 6.55 is good as well. There's going to be a new Deep Dungeon or dungeons, new plans for Deep Dungeons in the future. We've got Gold Saucer updates and PvP updates, of course. PvP storming along with Crystalline Conflict, and probably new maps and stuff. And they also mention a brand new limited job is coming in the latter part of 7.0. So 7.x somewhere in there, probably like 7.3, 4, something like that. And they asked the audience what they would like. Some person said Fisher, weirdly, although that would be hilarious. Beastmaster, Puppet Master, that kind of thing. They confirm nothing at this point. So hopefully we'll get info on that later. Next, we have information on the first graphical update. They only show a couple of bits on this. There is a developer panel that I want to do a video on as well that went into such insane detail. It's worth mentioning. But the thing they talk about most, first of all, is aura, horns, and scales. They basically showed this previously, the new updated model. They had a lot of luminosity to all of those scales and horns. Apparently feedback was that they didn't like how shiny they were, so they have changed it. So the new version of that, based on player feedback and people who watched the Fanfest, means they are making them more dull, more opaque and less shiny, so more horn-like. Very cool stuff. Then we've got the Final Fantasy XIV 1.0 based model adjustments. Now this is in relation to things that have changed since the 1.0 version. They show a Lalafell, so this is the original Lalafell model. Then we've got obviously the newest version of that. And then you'll notice that with the upscaling of those textures, they had an issue with a part of the cheek where there was like lines of shadow appearing, and they've essentially addressed that. Little details, but they're very happy that they were able to accommodate those. And honestly, the new models look great. Again, in the new developer panel that we'll do a video on next, probably. We'll talk about that in more detail. There's some really good shots. Additionally to that, we'll have the ability to separate hats and glasses. Finally, this is something that's coming obviously in 7.x, probably from the start. So you will finally be able to wear glasses as well as hats separately. None of this fashion accessory necessary stuff. So they didn't mention the hats, they didn't mention Viera and Hrothgar in any way, shape or form, unfortunately. So hopefully we can ask about those in the future. Now we have the new minimum system requirements and recommended system requirements. I'm just going to leave that up for you to look at and maybe pause. But essentially not a lot has changed. But of course, with the upping of the graphical update, you might want to maybe increase how powerful your PC is if you play on PC. Then, of course, we talk about 6.x series. We're not quite done with that. We've got 6.55, we've got 6.51. So the open beta for the Xbox version of the game is scheduled to begin in mid-January to February. So obviously, if people want to take part in that, they would be very, very grateful. Then you talk about crossovers. So the Fall Guys crossover has this fantastic trailer. We're only showing bits from that at the moment. Essentially, it is what we thought it would be. Full in-game Fall Guys style content, avoiding mechanics, avoiding, bosses like Yojimbo is striking, like there are hammers falling, lots of AoEs everywhere. And it looks like the rewards from this are a glamour outfit and maybe 2 minions, maybe more stuff like that. I would have hoped for an adventurer plate frame and elements personally, but the minion there, the actual Fall Guys guy minion is great. And I think that's a crown. That's a crown hat, isn't it? There's also kind of like a beanie on this guy's head. I can't wait for that collab. And we don't have to wait too long because that's going to release on the 31st of October. So just over a week, right? It is coming in 6.51. So if you're wondering when 6.51 came out, and of course the Fall Guys collab, October the 31st. Very hyped for that. Then they talk about the Final Fantasy XVI crossover. It's going to be called The Path Infernal. And we've got this beautiful footage behind of essentially Clive Ifrit fighting our Ifrit and basically getting destroyed. It shows the rewards as a Torgal minion, Clive's armor set for our Warrior of Light, and a Torgal mount as well. Of course, if you've not played 16, Torgal is essentially a puppy wolf, so that's why the minion is so small, and then it grows up through the story, and then you've got this big version of Torgal. And of course, you've got a beautiful glamour set. I cannot wait to see that. They're working on that. There's no release date for this yet. Actually, I don't think. Or is this in 6. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is coming out anytime soon. But very, very excited for that. Additionally, the Cloud Data Center stress test. So Cloud Data Centers are a new thing they're working with so that when Dawn Trail comes out, essentially you'll be able to temporarily place yourself on a cloud data center. This does have a scheduled stress test for this on November the 21st to the 27th. And essentially your character, if you create one there, will get wiped at the end of it. There are no rewards for doing this. They give you 50 million gil. They give you a job boost, things like that to test it out. They want you to do as much content as possible. So if you want to help out and you might be playing from North America on the East Coast, then you're probably going to have low enough latency to test that out and make sure that the servers work. Because that's a really cool feature that should alleviate any kind of horrible queue situations in the future. Very cool stuff. Just a reiteration again, actually, about the Fall Guys collab, because I forgot to mention it. You will have the ability to queue for this pre-made with 24 people, or random queue up to 24 people. This random party matching will be implemented in the Gold Saucer. It is not every day, and this is on a seasonal cycle, and this is to be hosted for a period of time, and then the content becomes unavailable, but will be available again later at some other period. So this is seasonal content. It's not permanent, and I'm sure they'll change the rewards over time, right, with this different maps and things. So there we go. Just thought I'd reiterate on that in case but I forgot it at the time. Got some lovely new artwork by, obviously, Yoshitaka Amano. This is reminiscent of Final Fantasy III, the box art, and that's obviously our brand new Viper. There's probably all sorts of references from the expansion in there if you extrapolate it. It's beautiful artwork, really lovely to see Amano artwork. And yeah, it's always great. So I would imagine that's going to be the collector's edition box art. They usually place the Amano artwork on that, and I would imagine they'll do the same this time. So, of course, more information on Dawn Trail is coming on January the 7th, 2024 from Tokyo in that keynote. And that's pretty much all I had time for, apart from a fantastic special guest with Hironobu Sakaguchi coming out, the founding father of Final Fantasy, the man himself, who I was very lucky enough to meet at Fanfest. What an absolute fantastic gentleman. And yeah, I am in awe of that man and the things that he has done. But yes, and then they move on to the opening ceremony. So that's pretty much it for the keynote. There was a few extra details we didn't know before and some really great announcements. Of course, the key things to take from that is the new Viper job. A lot of people are excited for that. A lot of people were expecting Corsair. I hear a bit of disappointment, but let's put our fingers together and hope and cross those fingers for a good caster DPS, because that's the other one to be announced at Tokyo. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for waiting. If you have waited to watch my version of this, I appreciate you. I know it was later, but I had to do traveling. I had to drive for 4 hours in the rain both ways, and obviously I'm pretty tired from Fanfest. More videos on the way. Can't guarantee the time frame of those, but they'll be up within the next couple of days. Much love, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye. Oh, Fanfest was amazing.